We're back. 11th of the 11th. Is today Remembrance Day? I actually checked my calendar and it says Remembrance Day.
In
Yeah, so.
southern hemisphere. Yes, I
But
believe. Is it Veterans Day over
look,
there?
look
I
at that. I
do
actually didn't
apologize.
realize I was wearing this too, but it's Remembrance Day in Australia. I'm not even in Australia. You're not even repping Australia, even though you're in Australia, man. But hey, look, we're here remembering that we have some fantasy love and some fantasy advice we'd love to give you. I'm Fauzi.
Yeah, I'm Nick. I don't know if I can segue off Remembrance Day. I just don't know if that's something you segue off of.
Oh, I'm giving you a hard one.
But
That's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Maybe
yeah,
maybe we should just dive into it. Yeah, we've been stretching out our intros for
yeah.
about
Let's
3 minutes the last 3 weeks, but we could really
let's
just
let's
dive
just
into
drop this.
drop.
Let's drop this. Stop holding on to it,
Take.
and let's watch out for what we're about to say. Let's go.
So I don't know, man. You want to go first, or shall I go first this week? We got our
I
drop
think
list to work through. I think.
I think I went first last week, so let's let the listener listen to you.
All right, I'll go first this week. I got a couple. I actually got two only for the drop list this week. Let's start with a whole bunch of drops. Yeah, it is one category, but it is a whole bunch of drops right now. If you play on the Milwaukee Bucks and your name is not Giannis or Dame Lillard, you should be dropped.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
right. All right, now I swear, because I'm doing the East box scores, and I guess we were thinking about this. I was thinking about this actually the other day, and we're really effectively both doing 41 games of each team. Yeah, because that's sort of what you would play, right? So, and obviously I'm seeing a lot of East games with the Bucks right now, and I don't know who the hell you'd touch. Yeah, on that team right now besides those two guys. So look, that's my first drop I have. If you're holding someone that's on the Bucks right now, that's not one of these two guys. I think you should be dropping them. They're just giving you nothing consistently. One guy might, kind of step up one day. Bobby Portis might step up one day, and then next day he's obviously still a six man. So I think he gives you like 6 and 6. So that's your ceiling. Um, my other second candidate here I have for the drop list here. Let me bring it up one sec. Is this guy here is in Miami. I don't know what's going on with him. Do you know what's going on there? Jaime Jaquez. Is that what his name is? Jaime Jaquez. He just.
Yep.
We all thought he was, we were all high on him this season. We thought he would probably continue to grow into his role. And it's just not been the case for him. I don't know if he's injured or something. But I think right now he's definitely someone that you would be dropping the Heat, and I've got a candidate here to watch, I guess, for the Heat as well. Probably feel like they're going a little bit of different direction right now with him because he's just not performing.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to jump in here. So in terms of Jaime Jaquez Jr., I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like rag on the guy. I just think Miami Heat has had a long reputation of getting steals in the draft and and undrafted players being signed and them really finding talent. And it's not to say that he's not talented. It's just he might be a solid role player off the bench. I think that Duncan Robinson is very much in the same vein. Duncan Robinson was a bit of a sensation because of his potent three-point shooting. Um, and then that kind of fizzled out a bit. And I think it fizzled out because people started to figure him out. And this is Jaime's second season, and because of that, scouting reports start to generate because you get a sample size and you know what to do. And
I
he's
think
also had some injury luck and some illness luck as well. And he plays behind Jimmy Butler in a sense, so that's not an easy role to be in.
took me a second to pull up his stats, obviously, and it's up now. So I think this is the catch for him, right? He had a really great rookie year, nearly 12 points, contributions across the board, but he shot reasonably well, yeah, 48%, 49% for a rookie is not a bad starting spot. But maybe
Mm.
here's the catch 22 for him. Right now, he's obviously in a shooting slump, 37% at the moment. That's a significant drop off. But it's almost like he set the bar high from himself from the first season, by shooting nearly 50%. If you go regress to 45%, you're actually now going backwards anyway. Whereas I guess many rookies come in, they shoot like 40% from the field. You go, they're a rookie, they're only going to get better, and they slowly get better, yeah, 43, 46, 49 after 3 years, 4 years, right? Now you're going, they're progressing, and you sort of don't feel the pressure, I guess, for them to have to perform in that sort of sense. So I think everyone that's probably picked him right now, man, I'm suggesting you drop him. That's my take.
Easy. And those are your two. So it's Jaime Jaquez Jr. and 10 players in the Bucks. So that's a sneaky two
10,
that you just
about
did on me.
15, but sure.
About
Yeah.
15. Yeah, look, I think obviously doing the West videos, there are teams that I look at as well. Dallas comes to mind to agree. Your stars are a big part of fantasy. And Obviously, depending on how deep your league is, you have to look at the role players. For me this week, I've really looked at the role players that have been disappointing. And the first one is Denny Advija. So Denny was traded for a bit of a haul, like a lot really for a player of his caliber, but that was done on this prospect of potential. And he's come over to Portland, who doesn't have a clear direction, and anybody could shine and everybody could put up stats. And he's not. He's not putting up stats. His season averages are 9, 5, 3 and 1 with almost a block and 2 turnovers, but it's actually starting to decline. So he actually went scoreless in his last game and didn't play very much. He's coming off the bench, but he's also, making way now for Shaden Sharp that's coming there. I just think stay away. I think Portland's a team that you almost stay away from as well, because these bad teams, they put anyone on the floor and it's just not consistent. My next player, I don't know if I've mentioned them before, but it needs to be mentioned now just because both myself and someone else in our league has taken a flyer on this player, and we've both been disappointed in the same way. Jabari Smith Jr. We've talked about the logjam of talent with Houston, and Jabari had a bit of a surge late last season, and we all kind of assumed, oh yeah, maybe he's going to string together a bit of a 12 and 8 with some threes and some stocks, and every game that passes, he just gets further and further away from whatever that is. So there was a nice 3-game stretch at the beginning of the month where he had double digits and almost 10 rebounds and a steal, and that's kind of faded out. And that's also a bit of an indictment on anyone from Rockets right now, outside of probably your big three of Şengün, Green, and Van Fleet, aren't worth touching either, because I don't think they know what they want out of their rotation. And you can kind of see that in the production from their players as well. And then my last one, this is a Golden State Warrior, Trace Jackson Davis.
Mm.
You're going to look at the stats here and be like, oh yeah, they're not great, and they're not. And I think the hard part is late last season he was getting a bit of a run. Might have been in the absence of Draymond Green by that point, but he was a bit of a blocks guy. So I really have flashbacks to when I picked him up and hoped some good stuff off the bench with the blocks. And his minutes are decreasing as time progresses, and he's getting less points and he's getting less rebounds and less assists. And then I'm using him as a staple, probably to do what you did with the Bucks, but really anyone from Golden State outside of Buddy and Steph right now aren't really worth touching, because they're either A, not getting the minutes, or B, it's not their game to go off. And there's a lot of, to me, it actually feels like there's a lot of teams right now where if you don't have a star player on that team, you're actually not getting good value out of a roster slot.
Look, I like your names, man. I think the first two, guys are definitely in slumps at the moment. Advija is in a new place, I guess. So it's obviously gone to a new city, new team. You would imagine there's some sort of challenges there too to just get, going. Who knows whether he will get going or not. I think I was high on him when the season started, but he hasn't been able to bring across his Washington production, I think, now to a new city at this point. It's interesting you nominated Trace Jackson Davis, so I just pulled up his stats, man. His stats are actually improving. Yeah, he's still shooting 70% from the field, right? And that was probably a huge area where he was, definitely didn't hurt you in that percentage category from fantasy perspective. He just needs minutes. Yeah, and I think we touched upon
Yeah.
Golden State maybe last week, where I basically said stay away from every Golden State player at this point, really. So because they're not getting the minutes. So 18 minutes, 9 points, about 5 rebounds. Not that bad. If you could get to 30 minutes, yeah, he's probably a player that's going like 15 and 7 or 15 and 8. Now that's not too bad on solid percentages. Now he's probably helping you in certain categories there in that sort of sense. So, but look, maybe situation changed, but I don't know. Steve Kerr seems pretty stubborn with what he's trying to do right now, isn't it?
I I think that's been a recurring thing though for the Golden State Warriors, is that post the championship dynasty, this young guy movement, is there a bit of a tangent to be made that Steve Kerr's not great with young talent development? Because it's actually been outside of the 2022 season, we've had 3 4 seasons now of where are they going, what are they doing, are they going to play the young guys, and they just
Mm,
don't.
mm.
Like Steph still dominates. Steph dominated today, which is great, and they're being really competitive this season. So the young guy movement's going to get shelved again for a while. So
Well, I saw they threw DeAndre Melton, I think is it? DeAnthony Melton, sorry, DeAnthony
yeah,
Melton into the starting lineup today. He had a fairly solid game too. Um, yeah, it's man, it's just going deep, man, and it's working for them right now. I think they're what 7-2 or something right now.
yeah,
So can't complain in that perspective, right? You're getting W's.
it's just it's just frustrating when NBA teams try prioritizing winning over fantasy stats. It's just not, it's not what we're going for, is it?
Anyway, let's move over to holds, right? I got a name here that look, I'm imagining now he's being snapped up left, right, and center. Yeah, I imagine deep leagues that he's definitely not available. I know my 14-man league, there was no chance of really snapping him up. He could be still out there. People have fallen asleep that are playing fantasy right now, but I've got a pacer that I'm nominating as a definitely hold if you had him, because he's now on a surge, man. This is Benedict Mathurin. He is right now. He's doing what we thought, I guess, Tyrese Halliburton was supposed to do, right? And I think the last few games he's really come out putting points on the board and getting minutes. Yeah, that's probably
Mm.
again an area where you talk about a lot, where minutes is important from a fantasy perspective, but from any player's perspective, let's be clear. But from a fantasy perspective, even more so, just players that get opportunities to sort of shine there. So look, I think this kid at the moment he's on a bit of a surge. You hold him. In fact, you can make the argument that you can maybe try and sell him high and over the next sort of week or two. But I think he's definitely someone that you wouldn't be dropping at this point unless I don't know, you Keith.
Yeah, well, so like, I'm just going to jump on this because this is my number one as well. So I'm
Oh,
going to steal
there
the
you go.
limelight. So currently rostered in 34.7% of leagues on ESPN. So he's actually probably not hard to grab. So he's a hold slash like go get a hold of him. And I think the interesting thing about this, he had 2 games at the end of October or the start of the season where he had 5 points apiece and he didn't play. It's actually his lowest minutes of the season.
Mm,
Everything else, it's double digits. And when he plays over 40 minutes, that's when he goes off.
mm.
So in the 31st of October, 43 minutes to give you 30 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. Yeah, obviously today as well, just went off for 38 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block in 41 minutes. But if he doesn't play 41 minutes, he's still probably almost like a 28 and 2 sort of guy. And yeah, the fact that he's 65% available, that's pretty unforgivable considering who some people have rostered on their teams.
I think someone just went and grabbed him out of league, man. But yeah, it's definitely a guy that I would definitely say you should be holding on right now if you have him. My second name I
Mhm.
nominate here is a rookie in Memphis, man. You probably already know who I'm talking about. Look, he's actually gotten a bench now. You've noticed Zach Edey has now slid to the bench, and he's coming now off the bench behind I think Brandon Clark
Mm.
at the moment. But I think you still need to be patient with him. I think this is a situation where if you have Zach Edey, all right, you hold him. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, um, we know rookies come on strong over time. Of course, yeah, they're going to only get better generally in that sense. Okay, and right now I think everyone that was so high on him, like, oh, he's going to start, oh, he's going to win Rookie of the Year, oh, he's going to give me, I don't know what you're hoping, 15 and 10 maybe on a high ceiling note. Right now you're getting about 12 and 7. Okay, he probably will come off the bench for a period of time by the looks of it because he needs to make that adjustment. He hasn't, he's still got lots to learn as you would expect. But I think he'll only continue to trend upwards. And it wouldn't be shocking if again at some point he then, you know, gets that starting role again and maybe really cements his spot in that starting role. But right now, I think if you're freaking out because he's been sent to the bench right now, I think it might be a little bit premature.
Well, for him, I'm looking through his game log a little bit. It's minutes. So if he plays 20 minutes or more, he's going to give you a double double and some stocks. If he doesn't get to 20 minutes, it's a little bit choppier and you don't get the stat line.
Well,
So,
minutes go with how you play as well, right? So coach
but
sees you're
the
playing
issue for
well, then
him,
they leave you on, right?
he gets into foul trouble or he
Mm-hmm.
gets quick fouls. So he's only averaging 3 fouls a game. You do get 6, but it's the fact that what might happen is he comes into a game maybe at the 8 minute mark, and he gets 2 quick fouls, and now he has to rest until halftime. And that lack of that lack of consistency is what's hurting him. So that Brooklyn game where he goes off for a big stat line, it's just because he stayed on the court and he's able to string together time. And we all know that as players, when you get subbed, you start to seize up a little bit or you start to lose the rhythm of the game. So yeah, he's definitely a hold because even on his bad games, he still gives you probably what most waiver wire forwards and centers are going to give you.
I only had two names actually. I was looking at my list there. They're my two
Oh,
names,
easy.
man. You had
Look at you
Benedict
go.
Mathurin, so I'm
Yeah, so
curious
I took
who else you got, man.
so I had Mathurin on the list for all the reasons we spoke about. The next person that I'm going to add to that is John Collins.
Mm,
I picked up John Collins throughout the week just because I was trying to look for a forward that did something. He is rostered on 66% of leagues, which is crazy to me because, I feel like not as good value as Mathurin. But the rationale for me picking him up was I looked at his game logs and he up until the last 2 days where I had him on my roster, he gave you a block and he always gave you a steal. And if he's not giving you those
The
stocks
Nick curse.
categories, yeah, oh man, it's real. But if he's not giving you stocks, he's actually giving you double digit points on relatively decent shooting. Can stretch the floor and give you a three or two. And the rebounds, the lowest rebounds is 3, the highest rebounds is 11, and that's a pretty consistent range for him. And then sometimes gives you some assist. Bad turnover day today, but he does seem to average 2. But the thing is that he's there probably on a waiver wire, or he's someone that you could package with maybe a better player. So that's why I'm saying hold, because I'll hold him just to see what he does. There's actually no one better at this point, at least in ours. And then Christian Braun. Christian Braun, if people aren't aware, has slid into the starting lineup for Denver.
Mm-mm.
Uh, Also played 354 minutes, so he's averaging 35, which is something I always love. He's only rostered in 45.2% of leagues, so he is probably available for you. The reason why I think you love him, he has Josh Hart energy. Not the same production, but Josh Hart energy. And what I mean by that is he scores, he rebounds, because he's a guard, a shooting guard that's going to give you 6 rebounds a game. He doesn't turn it over very much. He shoots relatively well, including from 3. And yeah, sometimes he gives you some crazy stuff. He gives you, I mean, he's had double digits every game he's played this season. His lowest rebounds is 2. His highest is 8. It's very steady. The fact that he's, going to be playing alongside Jamal Murray, which makes him better, or he ends up getting the starring role because he's playing alongside Russell Westbrook. I think he's got really good running mates that kind
I,
of bail him out too.
I feel you're really high on a guy that it really doesn't give you that much stocks though, right? If anything, you're going to pick on Christian Braun. I think he doesn't give you those peripheral stats that consistently. I
Yeah,
know every fantasy owner would have probably seen his name on the draft board and then had to make some decisions. Do I take him? Sort of play, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe around the 10th round, ninth, 10th round, perhaps sort of pick. Because and I know for me, I was looking at his name. I was like, can he handle this starting opportunity, which obviously opened up because of KCP leaving? And I guess I wasn't fully sold on that situation.
yeah.
One of the cases would be that his percentages drop. Players' percentages drop because you're getting more shots and more sort of minutes, and it doesn't always translate that way. But I know credit to him, man. You definitely, if you've got him right now, you wouldn't be dropping him by any means, I would imagine.
No, or looking to pick him up as well. And I think, the big point that comes out of this is we'll talk about it in another segment, but injuries are now becoming a legitimate factor this early in the season. So, we talk about, oh, like in the draft, I wouldn't have taken him. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think he's even a look in, really, for a 10-team league. There are probably better guards, but the problem is the injuries are starting to mount up. Opportunities are starting to come out of the woodwork for people, and players are getting, he certainly is getting an opportunity that he probably doesn't get if Jamal Murray is playing at his all-star level from the get-go.
True, true. I guess what we're moving to a watch list now.
Yeah, moving to the watch
I'm
list.
curious what names you'll have, but I'm feeling that probably are not going to be the same names as mine. But hey, look, let's start with one that could be the same one. Okay, it's a kid in Portland now. We did allude to him just before. He is now back, which is Shaden Sharp, obviously. He was injured, I think, to start the season here. I don't know, man. You're the one that has the percentages in front of you. I'm not looking at the same sort of stats in front
Yeah,
of
I'll
me.
pull
But
it up for you.
what is he rostered right now? But I'm imagining that some
20.
leagues here, 20%, 20 something percent, okay, so that he's still sitting out there, and I'm saying watch because he
Yeah, because
has
it's not
that,
good now.
he's got the ability of Cam Thomas. Yeah, he's got the Cam Thomas vibe, right? Like, he could average 25, 30 points a game, go off, but obviously it's not there yet. Okay, and I think right now he's only played a couple of games. At the moment, his averages are just under 10 points and stuff like that. His percentages are reasonable right now at the moment, sitting 47%. Last season he played 30 games, he only shot about 40%. That was an area which was really painful, I think, as a fantasy owner. I think I had him at some point. I was like, I don't know if I could handle these percentages, and I love percentages obviously, so I was like, I think I dropped him at some point after that. He's definitely a kid I think that you should watch because Portland is a rebuilding team, and if they commit to Shaden Sharp getting minutes, probably starting. I think he did start the last game. All right, that I saw. Then I think his production will only trend upwards. And if he can put his shooting together in the high 45 sort of range, 45 to 50, then he's probably someone that you would be going you roster and you feel fairly happy about it. So that's my first candidate to watch from Portland. My second candidate, I guess I have here is a kid in Denver. You talked about Denver just before, actually, with Christian Braun, yeah, and he was the name that was all about um, the vibe, I guess, that he was going to get. He was going to have a breakout year because of KCP leaving and things like that. But it's another kid in Denver here that I'm nominating as a watch candidate, which is Peyton Watson. Yeah, I'm going to actually take a stab here that a lot of people are going to go, who the hell's Peyton Watson? Yeah, because he hasn't anything eye popping yet, but he's part of that youth movement, I guess, for the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, probably similar to just like Warriors. Obviously, they're trying to get the youth involved with the fact that they've got Hall of Famers, good players that are vets that are slowly getting older. How can you keep this success going? Yeah, and Peyton Watson, I guess, part of that progress. I guess part of that plan. I guess timeline in Denver. Last season, I actually picked him up, if you recall. I don't even recall, but
I
towards
did.
the finals. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And he does some,
because of the blocks.
and he does stocks, man. And you sure I should be higher on Peyton Watson because he's a bit more of a stocks guy. Think about maybe if you like, who the hell's Peyton Watson? More like you're probably actually going like, who the hell's Herb Jones? Yeah, but Herb Jones, obviously for the Pelicans, who is also sort of a stocks guy, doesn't score that much. But because you do a little bit of everything, okay. And I think again we're talking about watching options right now. Keep an eye on him. I think he started the last game. In fact, he played 40 minutes against Dallas. Denver is starting to roll now after a really slow start. Yeah, I think they're 7-3 now. You can't complain when you're 7-3 after starting really poorly for them. So I
Well,
think, look, yeah,
I want to slide in on this one a
yeah,
little bit because
jump
I've
in.
actually got some extra context to give you there. So he was rolling with the bench unit and the stats were incredibly average, and not worth looking at. But he slid into the starting unit
Mm,
in the last 4 games because of Aaron Gordon's injury, which we know is going to take a couple of weeks here. But sometimes what happens with injuries, it's not that they play really well for a 4 week period and then the player returns and it all goes back.
mm.
There's a bit of confidence that happens here. There's a bit of chemistry to develop. So ever since he slid into the starting lineup, he has scored 16 points or 10 points once. So that's already great. He's going to give you about 4 to 5 rebounds. He's going to give you an assist or two. He's going to give you a steal or two, and he's going to give you a block or two. The reason why you watch him is because he's getting 34 minutes when, as opposed before he was getting about 20. So that extra minutes, that extra production, playing alongside some good players, and Denver does look like a bit better of a basketball team over the last couple of days. So yes, it is. That's a great watch because he's only rostered in 4.6% of leagues, and I
4 per 6.
guarantee you,
I'm gonna feel this.
someone.
I'm gonna feel this next name, man. It's gonna be somewhere in that single digits percentage too, man. And I'm gonna nominate this guy. He's 27 years old. I don't know if I can call him a kid anymore, right? I guess everyone's still a kid to me because they're younger than me, right?
Okay.
so,
Yep.
so
Good
yeah,
job.
every kid in the guy in the NBA is a kid, right? But he's Haywood Highsmith. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's obviously in Miami. He was, I think, he was looking at maybe leaving, and then they gave him some more money. I guess he wasn't really sure what was going to be a situation at the start of the season.
Yep.
And then they threw him some more money, and he started to put it together. Yeah. If you look at his last 3 games, he started to get 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
19 points, 15 points. Last game, he had only 7 points, but 5 steals. Yeah. And he does that on reasonable percentages. Again, we're talking about a watch option, maybe even a stream option, yeah, for a game or two. I think you could do worse. And you already know, I think if you sort of follow that NBA, like Eric Spoelstra, if you earn his trust, he will
Yeah,
play
you
you,
get the
right?
minutes.
You get the
Yeah, and he's
minutes,
getting them now.
and he's getting minutes. So if he can continue to play in this sort of way, and hopefully Miami sort of start to string a couple wins together, they have a little bit of deja vu like the Hawks, right? Because they like that season when they went 41-41 and they lost one, won one, lost one, won one sort of situation. And Miami Heat sort of really doing a similar sort of thing right now that they would like to play, string a few games and be 5 or 10 games above 500 versus this sort of treading water feeling, right? But look, I think Haywood Highsmith, man, is a watch candidate right now. If you're looking for someone that could give you a good night in some of these little areas that doesn't hurt you in anything necessarily as well, I think he's definitely someone that you could keep an eye on.
I like it. I like it. I'm going to give you someone who's probably a little bit more well known, but admittedly still only 36%, 0.8. It's and please forgive us here. Okai Abaji. Is that
Abaji
right?
and the Raptors, right? Yeah.
Abaji. Yeah. So ESPN currently valuing him as the third best small forward SG combo. I don't know if they're always interesting rankings, so that's not important. He's getting 30 minutes a game, or 33 specifically in the last 7 days, averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.3 steals. Not great on the
I,
blocks,
I
but
know this guy.
half a
Yeah, yeah.
turnover,
Mm-mm.
and that turnover is really nice. The percentages could fluctuate, but the reason why this is a watch slash even a sneaky pickup is this is a great 10th 11th man on a roster, depending on how deep your league is and how the talent's going. And he's going to continue to get minutes while Scotty Barnes is out, but that's just because he's in the starting lineup. He actually still got those minutes even when Scotty Barnes was in. So and this is probably then a bigger thing. Abaji is just one of the many Toronto Raptors players who exist that you should probably go and investigate, because Davion Mitchell, who we both talked about as being a bit of a drop, or like a dud, he's now turned into, well, he's turned into at least
look, man.
Let me try to cook. Okay, it's never good to have two chefs in the kitchen. Davion Mitchell is getting minutes and giving you raw stats. I don't know why you're so apprehensive towards him. His minutes are starting to decrease now, but what I'm saying is there was a stretch there where he was a legitimate lookout candidate, and there's other players on the Raptors that will fall into that. Grady Dick probably looks to be falling off a little bit now, but he was definitely a watch category as well. And it opens up that bigger conversation of Toronto's not going anywhere. They're not going towards a play-in, and they're probably trying to do a bit of a tank job for Cooper Flag, right? So because of that, they're going to have interesting people play during the season and be really good fantasy players, and it's just worth looking at that.
We should have recorded this a day earlier, because then I would have followed your advice and taken Agbaji. Yeah, if that's how you say it, yeah. Because I sat there, I think the other night, like last night, 2 nights ago, and I was like, do I go Davion Mitchell or this guy, Ochai Agbaji? Yeah. And then I went with Mitchell because I felt that he would have a little bit more motivation, because Quickly was coming back to the lineup, and maybe he wants to retain his role in that sort of sense a little bit, wants to continue to play some reasonable minutes. And then he had a real stinker of a game. Yeah, Quickly came back. Quickly, obviously, is a player that, was always going to be starting in Toronto. And Davion Mitchell never picking you up ever again. That's my personal message to him.
All right. I like it. You've been burned a little bit. To keep this video nice, short, sharp, because we definitely have already went on a little bit longer. My next two players to watch actually will have their own dedicated sections in another video. But I feel like you need to watch both Chet Holmgren and Kevin Durant. And I'm not revealing my reasons here. You'll have to look at a different video to figure that out.
Well, I'll try and play off this. That was a very extremely mysterious way to finish this section off, and you've gone with definitely some well-known names there. So I guess, yeah. Hey, look, I guess anyone that got to this point of the video, man, we credit you. We give you some love. Feel free to put some comments down there. You can buy into the Knicks mystery ending here with some guys that why the hell are we watching him? I don't even know why we're watching him. He hasn't told me. I've given a few more names that I think are definitely true watch candidates. I think that probably people are not so familiar with, and maybe that's starting to come onto the radar. And obviously in fantasy, if anything, man, the people that grab these opportunities and these kids and these players coming on the radar faster than others are the ones that generally, get to end up playing finals, I guess, for fantasy, man. I'm a little peeved. I guess some of these players that I know I was watching, someone else grabbed them, but I love it. Our league is quite active. A little bit competitive. It's a bit of fun. Yeah, man. I know about you, man. It's been good so far. It's only 2 weeks in as well.
It feels like a lifetime. I've aged horribly.